Good morning, everyone, and welcome to episode 27 of the Willow Cove Crafts podcast, a podcast about knitting and sewing and my journey to creating a handmade wardrobe and home. My name is Emily, and you can find me on both Ravelry and Instagram as Willow Cove Crafts. Today is Sunday, April 3rd, 2022. And I am coming to you from just outside of Madison in Verona, Wisconsin. It has been 2 weeks since I last recorded, and since then, not a ton has been going on. I have been sick with a cold for about a week and a half at this point. So Dan was sick a couple weeks ago. It's not COVID, he tested negative, but he did then pass it along to me. And so I have had a cough, sore throat, a lot of congestion for the last week and a half. I finally feel like I am coming out of it, but I still feel a little croaky. I still have the occasional coughing fit. I also tested negative for COVID, so I'm pretty sure it's not COVID. I suppose that makes sense. I've heard a lot of people are getting sick now, especially around here. All of our restrictions have been lifted, and so it makes sense that, once people start interacting with each other more, all of the things that used to make us sick will start cropping up again. So anyways, I've been sick for kind of an extended amount of time, so I've not been doing much. We did go to see, when was it? Last Friday. So yeah, last week Friday, Dan and I and a couple of our friends went to see Hassan Minhaj, who's a comedian. He is the host of, what is it called? The Patriot Act on Netflix, which is, a political commentary show, and he's a comedian. So we went to see him about a week ago at this point. It was a really great show. But yeah, other than that, just been staying home. The last week has been a little rough for me. Nothing serious, nothing major. There's just been a couple of things that have come up that have really triggered my anxiety. And so I've just been, a bit worked up over the last week, not really able to relax. My mind has been elsewhere. I've been, I don't know if anyone else does this, but one of my coping mechanisms that's probably really unhealthy for the things that make me anxious is to Google them obsessively. And then I just end up down this rabbit hole and I don't feel any better. And I should really stop Googling things, but I don't for some reason. I keep hoping I'm gonna stumble upon the most perfect piece of advice that will make me feel better, but then that doesn't happen. And you would think I would learn, but I don't. So anyways, last week, I feel like I haven't gotten as much crafting done as I normally would because I've just been kind of worked up doing other not so productive things. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else out there struggles with anxiety and does some of those same things. Maybe you know what I'm talking about, but again, I'm feeling a lot better today. I've talked to some actual people who know things about the things I'm worried about, and yes, I'm being very cryptic because ultimately it's not important. But yeah, I do have quite a bit to show you today. Not a moderate amount to show you today, but hopefully during the next couple weeks I'll feel a lot better and I'll get a lot done. Also, it is not officially confirmed, but he's probably traveling for work next week. So I always feel like I get a lot done when Dan travels for work because he is not around to need attention. So maybe I'll get a lot done. I also, coming up, have a very busy couple weeks at work. Yeah, I don't quite know like if I'll have to work extra hours yet or not. Hopefully not. But yeah, we'll see. I'm getting way ahead of myself and I am rambling. So this is how my brain has worked the last couple weeks. But yeah, I think we can probably go ahead and get started with the crafty content today. To start off today, let's do finished objects and what I am wearing because they are one in the same today. My camera angle is not so great, so I will put in, I took a little video of what I am wearing. Maybe I'll try and stand up a little bit so you can see. But I have finished my Hadley top, which I showed during the last episode, I believe. So this is obviously a sewn garment. This is the Hadley top by Grainline Studio. I sewed it out of a Swiss dot cotton that I purchased from JoAnn Fabrics, which is a pretty big box craft store here in the United States. And I am pretty happy with how it turned out. I made a couple modifications, which I think worked out. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to make things fit because I do find some of my sewn things, I'm still a very beginner garment sewer. Things fit, but like not perfectly. And I suppose that's kind of the goal. I don't want to get like too caught up in perfection, but I would like to learn ways to make things fit better, right? Anyways, this shirt, the Hadley top, is technically it's supposed to be a tank top. So there's two views, and I don't have the piece of paper to show you, but there's two different views. There's a tank top, and then there is a long sleeve version. And then the body of the garment is slightly different between those two views. So I wanted to do the tank top because it had this V-neck. I really liked that view, but I also wanted to give it some sleeves, but not long sleeves, short sleeves. So, you know, I made that tank top view, but then I cut out the sleeves, obviously shortened them quite a bit, and inserted some sleeves. So that's my big modification. The other thing I did, so this shirt has a facing, excuse my bra strap, it's just fabric. The other thing is it has this facing, which you are not supposed to sew down. I sewed the facing down, you can probably see, there's a line of stitching here. I have trouble, I don't know if it's because I try to buy the thinnest possible inner facing I can find, but I have been noticing that any facings I put on a garment, it's just kind of stiff and like it feels a little weird, and you're technically supposed to just kind of let these like hang on the inside of the garment. But I find that they like kind of flip out. You can tack them down, but even then, it just looks a little bulky to me. I don't know how to fix that. Anyways, I am rambling, but I decided to tack the facing down because the whole shirt has, so one of the details of the shirt is it has this kind of exposed, not exposed, but this extra seam down the front, and then it has the same in the back. So I thought because, you know, the whole aesthetic of the shirt is having kind of extra seams, I thought it would look really good to just have an extra seam around the neck hole. So yeah, same, you know, the bottom has a facing as well. And this seam is in the pattern. So I thought it made it look a little bit more symmetric to have that extra seam around the neck hole. And then that also, you know, solved my interfacing problem. So yes, I would be curious if any of you out there are, you know, pretty experienced garment sewers, if there is a brand of interfacing that you recommend for lighter weight fabrics. I tried to do some research. I cannot remember what brand I purchased, but I am always curious to hear what products people recommend. Again, it's not terrible. Like, you can tell, like, with me touching this, that it's not like super stiff. But yeah, I just find some of the interfacing out there is a little too stiff for a finer, flowier fabric. And so I'm curious what people use. In terms of fit, I think it fits pretty well. I do find it kind of gapes here. You can kind of see that. Again, those are the types of things that, like, I wonder if there's a way to fix that or modify patterns to have that not happen. I just don't know what it is. So I might have to research that a little more, or again, if you are very experienced and know the answer to that, I would love to hear it. But yeah, other than that, you can probably see, I'm assuming at some point in here, I'll have shown a video of me wearing it. It's got kind of a high-low hem. It's very, you know, fitted in the shoulders, but then it kind of, you know, balloons out and is actually quite loose towards the bottom. And I think it looks really good with high-waisted jeans. As you can see, it kind of comes, you know, right to the top of my pants. And yeah, I really love the fabric. I'm a big fan of Swiss dot fabric. I have quite a few different iterations of polka dot fabric like this. And yes, and to clarify, I think this is correct. What makes it Swiss dot is that the polka dots have a little texture. It's like not just a polka dot fabric, it's actually like you can run your fingers over it and feel the dots. They like pop up off the fabric. I think that's correct. Anyways, so yeah, that is my Hadley top. I am pretty pleased with it, and I think it will be a really great staple in my summer wardrobe this year. Moving on to works in progress, I have one knitting work in progress and one sewing work in progress to share with you today. So let's start with the knitting one, because you have seen this before if you are a returning viewer. I am starting to not so affectionately refer to this sweater as the sweater that will never end. I feel like I have been working on this sweater forever. It has been, I went and looked at the first Instagram picture I posted of it, and it has been about a month. And I have been pretty monogamous on this sweater, so like a month of monogamous knitting feels like a very long time to have an unfinished sweater. And I feel like I've been knitting on it a lot. But I suppose that is the nature of this stitch. So anyways, let me put this down. I am working on the Tove sweater by Gregoria Fibers, and it is an all-over fisherman's rib sweater, which fisherman's rib takes a lot of time. If you ever knit a fisherman's rib project, just know that it is a slow growing stitch pattern, and I love it. I think it looks so great. It is so squishy. It's got a lot going for it. However, just know it takes a long time. So anyways, here's my sweater. So since last time, the sweater is knit from the bottom up. So you start at the bottom hem and then you knit in the round until you get to the underarms, and then you knit the front and the back separately. So last time I was here on, this is the back of the sweater. So I finished knitting up the back, and then I knit the whole front from the armhole up, and then I joined the front and the back. One of the big design features of this sweater is that it's got a saddle shoulder. So you can see this, like, I think it's very striking. It's simple but striking, just this panel of stockinette that is joining the front and the back. And then I picked up and knit the collar, which is a doubled over collar. And I have started on the first sleeve. So we're getting there. Just have to finish knitting the sleeves. I'm hopeful that I can finish this up by next episode. But yes, also it's a cropped sweater. Like, it's not even, it's just taking forever. So a couple things. Let me start by sharing what yarn I am using. I am using Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair, which is a 70% mohair, 30% silk, and this is the Flamingo colorway. I am at the point where I fear I'm going to run out of yarn and will have to buy more. It's not a big deal, but I am starting to question if the yardage specified in the pattern is a little bit of a low estimate. But anyways, everything went pretty smoothly with this sweater until I got to the saddle shoulder. I struggled with this so much. I knit and re-knit these shoulders maybe 6 times. I think I ended up looking really good, but the pattern does not go into a ton of detail about like good technique to picking up these stitches. So again, like, you knit the front and back, and then you pick up stitches and you knit this panel to join them together. And I kept picking up stitches and it looked just so sloppy. It was either really tight or it was really loose, or like one side of the shoulder was really tight and one side was really loose, and I just like couldn't figure it out. And I was trying to follow the instructions in the pattern, and like construction wise, it's not super unclear. But yeah, just like picking up these stitches was really, really tough. And I just kept doing it over and over and over again, and I was getting really frustrated. And then finally, I think I cracked it pretty well. I think it ended up looking really neat, but there's a lot of effort that went into picking up those stitches. So yeah, if you ever decide to knit the Tove sweater and are having trouble picking up the shoulder stitches, let me know. I will give you my tips and tricks. Because yeah, I feel like the shoulder is not a lot of knitting. It's just this like skinny little panel, but I spent days working on these shoulders trying to get them to look not good. Because for me personally, I think it's very disappointing when you've put a ton of work into a sweater or anything really, and then there's this like one part that looks really sloppy and it ruins the whole thing, at least for me. Having the shoulders not look good was pretty unacceptable. I had to keep working it until it looked right. So yeah, that would be my only complaint about this pattern, is I felt like, I don't know, I'm not a pattern writer. I don't know how to make it more clear, but I really struggled with this. And you know, maybe a video tutorial or like some sort of link on how to accurately pick up stitches on. What made it tricky is that I don't want to give too much away. This is sloped. You can probably see that the rows are getting longer. So picking up stitches nicely on a sloped edge is hard. But I persevered and I did it, and now I'm really happy with it. So yeah. And then I really love the collar. I love a doubled over collar. I think it just makes things look extra cozy. And yeah. The sleeves are going. Something else I had trouble with, you pick up stitches for the collar and then you pick up stitches for the sleeve. I was having a lot of trouble picking up the correct number of stitches specified in the pattern. So I didn't follow them. I just picked up, you know, for the neck hole, I think, you know, the pattern calls for picking up more stitches, and I was just like, there's no more spots to pick up stitches on this neck hole. So I just did fewer stitches and it worked out. And then the sleeves, there was like too much left over. Like I picked up the number of stitches and then was like, I still have 2 inches left of fabric to like pick up. So I just picked up more stitches and then I decreased pretty rapidly down to the stitch count that they called for. I think it's fine. You know, those decreases are going to be in the armpit. No one will ever see them. And then I assume I will have to do the same on the other sleeve. But yes, Tove sweater. What else to say about this? I've mentioned before, but you do hold the yarn triple. So you end up with this like really fluffy, squishy mohair fabric. And then, you know, the fisherman's rib is a squishy stitch in and of itself, paired with the mohair. It's pretty incredible. I've said this before, but, you know, even though this sweater is taking a long time, the fabric that it is creating is like, it is its saving grace. I love just like feeling this, and like I love the fabric it is producing so much that I think that is why I have like really like toughed this one out and kept going on it, because I want this finished object so bad. Fit wise, I think it is fitting how it is supposed to. It is a cropped sweater, so you can see, you know, from underarm to bottom edge. Here's the length. I actually lengthened it by 1 inch because I am tall. And this is still just like barely hitting the top of my high-waisted jeans. I'm hoping it will lengthen a little bit with blocking. I think fisherman's rib tends to lengthen a little bit. If it stayed how it was, I think it would be perfectly fine. It's just a new style that I'm maybe not used to or don't have or haven't worn a lot before. I think it looks good. It's just, I think I would like it a little more if it was like 1 inch longer. So I'm really hoping that it will grow a little bit lengthwise with blocking. So yes, another piece of advice about the Tove is if you are tall like me, for reference, I am 5'9", lengthen the body. I lengthened the body by 1 inch and I don't think it was enough. But I'm not certain yet because I haven't blocked it. So I will let you know next time or whenever I happen to finish this how I ultimately feel about the length. But yeah. I am really hoping I finish this by next episode. It's a labor of love. Yes, I really want to finish this up because I've mentioned this so many times, I am trying to be more of a monogamous knitter, and I have abandoned some projects that have deadlines. So specifically, I started, if you've seen my last few episodes, I have started a pair of socks for my mom that I really want to gift her for Mother's Day. So I want to get back to those. And I might make that my traveling project because it's the beginning of April, Mother's Day. I think it's at the beginning of May. So I just have a couple weeks to finish those and I would like to have them done. So yes, that will be my next big project. But there are new deadlines, so I might loop those into the rotation over the next couple weeks. We shall see. My second work in progress today is a new thing. It's not a cast on because it is a sewing project. And it is more specifically a quilt. Over the last couple weeks, I have been like quilt obsessed. I will go on Instagram and look up quilts. I will go on Etsy and look at fabric. I have just been jonesing to start a quilt. And if you are a long-term viewer, you may recall that I have shown several quilts on this podcast that have never been finished. So I do have, oh man, I probably have like 6 quilts I've started that haven't been done or finished, maybe 7. It's real bad. But of course, I wanted to start a brand new quilt. So that is what I did. And yes, hopefully I finish this one. I do plan on going back to those other quilts, but I don't know, it's springtime. I always feel like sewing in the spring and summer, and I just like really wanted to start a new quilt. So I did. Because, yeah, I've had a tough 6 months, and I'm just gonna do what I feel like sometimes, right? So I started a new quilt. The quilt pattern I am using is called Lala Fancy by Southern Charm Quilts. Melanie Traylor is the woman behind Southern Charm Quilts, and I am obsessed with her. I love everything she makes. Her quilt patterns, I think, are like really interesting and unique. She puts together the most beautiful fabric bundles. And yes, I will make everything she has ever put out into the world. I really love her aesthetic and everything she puts together. So anyways, I am making Lala Fancy, and I think I could probably show you the back. This is, I'm assuming on the website. Here's kind of a schematic of what it looks like. So it's got stars, but they're kind of wonky. You can see like the points of the stars are not even. And yeah, it's a really scrappy, fat quarter friendly quilt, which is my favorite kind. I love scrappy quilts. I am not as drawn to quilts that have like a very uniform, like they just use like 2 or 3 colors. I love when quilts have tons of different fabrics in them. So yes, this one was right up my alley. And then the fabric I purchased for this was also from Melanie. And it's a really great assortment of oranges and peaches and pinks. Perfect for spring, in my opinion. I'll show you that in a second. I do want to clarify, I think this is how it is. So Melanie, her quilt patterns are under Southern Charm Quilts, if you were to search for that. And then she also sells fabric, which is her fabric shop, I believe, is called Meander and Make. So if you see Southern Charm Quilts and Meander and Make, I think they are run by the same person. Just one is, you know, the quilt pattern side and one is the fabric side. So Southern Charm quilt pattern, and then the fabric bundle I purchased was from Meander and Make, but it is the same person running both of those things. I've been really enjoying working on this. It's kind of all I've wanted to do over the last like week or so. I took a little bit of a different approach this time around. I talked a little bit about this on Instagram, but whenever I make a quilt, I get very excited about starting to sew and like put my fabric pieces together and see how it all comes together and looks. And when, you know, I'm really motivated to start sewing, I tend to like skip. Obviously, I have to cut out the fabric before I can sew it, but I will like cut out the fabric for a single block, and then I will sew that block, and then I'll cut out fabric for the next block and sew that block. And I think that is probably terribly inefficient. I think ultimately, if you take the time at the beginning to cut out all of your fabric, that is probably the most efficient use of your time. It delays the gratification of actually getting to sew. But I think ultimately you will thank yourself. And that is what I did this time. I've never done that before, but before I started sewing, I took the time and cut out all of my fabric. And it didn't actually end up taking that long. I think I spent less than 2 evenings cutting out all of my fabric. It helps. You know, I think tools are really important. So for my birthday last year, Dan, with a lot of guidance from me, bought me some like really nice cutting supplies. So a really nice cutting mat, some really nice rulers, rotary cutters. And I think when your tools are really good, it allows you to cut out more layers of fabric at one time, and it makes the whole process go quite a bit quicker. So I forced myself to cut out all of my fabric. And then also, instead of sewing one block at a time, I am doing more of a, what is it called? Not supply chain. I'm like blanking on this phrase. You know, when you do like one step at a time and like, you know, you're in the factory and you've got your one job and then it goes down assembly line. I don't know why I could not think of that phrase. Anyways, I've taken a more assembly line approach to this quilt. And so, you know, if you look closely, you know, each of the stars is its own block, and then it's got this little like corner unit, and then the corners come together to make these diamonds in between each star. So like you've got your bigger blocks, but each of the blocks has, you know, it's kind of modular. It's got different sections. And so I'm working on putting together, you know, a certain, you know, section of the blocks. So I haven't actually like made any complete blocks. But I have been working, and now you get to see my fabric. This is my stack of completed corners. So, you know, just to show you a few. As you can see, just like beautiful peaches and pinks. I really love this color palette. This one's nice. There's an occasional pop of like a burnt orange. And then an occasional like yellow. And this is my last set I've done. So, you know, this is all I like really have to show for myself. There's a lot more going on my sewing table. Again, taking that assembly line approach, I cut out all of my fabric. I made, you know, this is a half square triangle with a little bit of like a snowball corner. So like I sewed all my half square triangles, and now I'm doing all my snowballing. And just like, you know, instead of, again, I love the instant gratification of just like sewing a block, but I think, you know, taking the time to just like do one step for the entirety of the quilt, towards the end, this thing is just going to come together so quickly. I hope that all makes sense. But yeah, I just like feel very like neat and organized, and like looking over at my sewing table, I've got like all these like neat piles of all my different pieces, and it's like, you know, I am definitely more type A, and so like just seeing all of that is like making me so happy. It's really speaking to my inner happy person. That doesn't make any sense, whatever. So anyways, yes, very quilt obsessed. All I want to be doing is quilting. I think part of that has to do with the fact that I am feeling like so sluggish about my sweater that, you know, the quilt is much more appealing. You know, it's that bright, shiny new thing. But yes, definitely plan on putting some work into my quilt this afternoon while this video is uploading, and I am really looking forward to it. That is it for works in progress today. So if that is all you are interested in, thank you so much for stopping by. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was my de-stash. In case you didn't watch last episode, I am de-stashing quite a bit of my yarn, mostly sock yarn. There are going to be a couple other things that I include over time, but for now it is mostly sock yarn. The way that I am de-stashing is via my de-stashing Instagram account, which is Willow Cove de-stash. So go check that out. Follow me over there. Any yarn you see on that page is for sale. So definitely go check that out, especially if you are in the market for any new sock yarns. Sorry, I just got like really stuffy all of a sudden. Anyways, I have had a couple things up in the shop for, not shop. I'm so used to hearing podcasters say I have things up in the shop that is like how I say it in my head, but it's not a shop. It's just a de-stash Instagram account. Anyways, I have put a bunch of stuff up in there, so this is all in there right now. But I did want to show you real quick here what I have for sale on my de-stash account in case you haven't seen that or you're interested. So I've been putting yarn up by like dyer. So I've kind of gone through my whole sock stash and have picked out the things that I am willing to sell. And I've just been uploading things according to dyer. So over the last like week or so, I have put stuff in from a Homespun house, Hue Loco, and Woolen Boon. So if you are a fan of any of those dyers, I definitely recommend going to check it out to see if there is something in there that you want to get your hands on. So real quick today, I just wanted to show you some of the things that are still up for sale. And then you can hop on over to that account. All you have to do is comment that you are interested on one of the pictures, and I will follow up with you to complete the sale. So it's really easy. I've sold a couple things and I think it's gone pretty smoothly so far. So yes. I have quite a few things, so I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly. So first up is a Homespun house. So the things that are for sale are this skein. This is Christmas at the House of Black. This is Half-Blood Prince. Again, these are all a Homespun House yarns. This is Mirth. And yes, it really is that bright in real life. This is Gregoria. And then I also put up a quantity that is not sock yarn. I have 3 skeins. It's blowing out a little bit. This is Serve the Servants, and this is in a Homespun House's DK weight. I originally bought this to make a shawl, but as I have mentioned, I like solids for my garments, and so this is quite the busy yarn, and I think it would make a beautiful shawl, but not one that I would probably wear. So I'm hoping this finds a really, really great new home. So that is a Homespun House. Let me pause real quick and get the next batch of yarn into my lap. The next batch that I'm going to show you is from Hue Loco. And if you are curious about specifics, again, at the Willow Cove D-Stash Instagram account, I've got a post for each of these, and then there's a description below of what, the actual yarn is. Is it tweed, glitter, how much wool versus nylon, all that stuff. So anyways, these are all Hue Loco. This is Stardust. Petunia. No Way, Jose. Amber Canopy. I think this one is so pretty. I have similar yarn to this, which is why I am getting rid of this one. Not getting rid, that sounds so bad. This is why I'm selling this one, because I have a lot of similar yarn, but I really love this one. I have Lucky Charm. Funky Funky. Garden Gnome, or excuse me, Gnome Garden. That one is a tweed. And then I have one of Hue Loco's Backyard Chicken collection. This one is a sock set, so it comes with the 100 gram skein and then 2 20 gram minis. This is the Golden Laced Wyandotte. So that is all of the Hue Loco. Last up this time around, I have some Woolen Boon up on the D-Stash account. I do not believe that Woolen Boon is dying anymore. So if you have been a fan of Woolen Boon and would like some, this is maybe a good opportunity, because I don't think she sells yarn anymore. Something to call out about each of these is that they are 100% superwash merino, so there is no nylon in them. I do know quite a few people have knit lots of socks out of these, and it's completely fine, but just something to keep in mind that there is no nylon content in each of these, though it is advertised as a sock yarn. So, make your own decisions. They would also be really great in shawls and things. So, anyways, this one is Space Cowboy. This one is called She Don't Use Jelly. This is You'll Shoot Your Eye Out, which is a really fun Christmas colorway. Super cool Party People. I think Woolen Boon has the best names. Rage Against the Tangerine. This one is definitely more of a neon orange, and then the She Don't Use Jelly is, it's still pretty bright, but it is a softer orange. You can see those next to each other. And then Heart Punch, Tulips, and Skinnles. I don't know how you say that colorway. Skinnles? Anyways. So that, again, is all of the yarn that is up for sale at Willow Cove D-Stash. So go check it out if you are interested in making any of those your own. And that is it for me today. Thank you so much for watching and spending a little bit of your day with me. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment. I love hearing from you all, and I will chat with you again in about 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.